Welcome to this special episode of the Wake Up with Gratitude podcast. I'm your host, Julie Boyer, and we're in week 2 of 30 ways to practice gratitude for the month of November. For those in the US, November is traditionally known as the month of gratitude, so I thought I'd share a simple way to practice gratitude every day. If you're just joining us now, you can head back and listen to day 1 and catch up easily, as each episode is only about 5 minutes long. It's easy to join in. Simply click on subscribe or follow the podcast. That way you'll be alerted every time a new episode is released. That makes it easy to start your day with gratitude and find time to implement the gratitude practice that I've suggested each day. Let's get started with today's gratitude practice. Ever notice that sometimes it's the people we love the most that we take the most for granted? On day 13 of our gratitude challenge, we're going to focus on showing gratitude for the people that we share a home with. There are as many different home situations as there are people on this planet. So I invite you to take what would work for your situation and give it a try, at the very least for today, if not for the next week or so. I share a home with my husband. We've been married for 13 years, and we have a daughter who is 12. We both work from home, and our daughter is home as we do unschooling. So you can imagine that the three of us spend a lot of time together. And that can make it difficult to remember to be grateful for each other. One of the simplest ways that I practice gratitude with my family is to remember to say thank you when someone does something that we just might take for granted. For example, I'm sure that in your family there's someone who tends to make the meals and someone who tends to do the dishes afterwards. When was the last time you thanked your partner for doing their task at home? I know it sounds silly to say thank you for doing the dishes or thank you for taking the garbage out, but for many people, and myself included, hearing words of affirmation can make a big difference and make these tasks feel less laborious or like we're being taken for granted. I think that's one of the hardest things in a household dynamic. It's making sure that the other people that we share a home with aren't feeling taken for granted by remembering to express our gratitude for even the simplest little things. Even if the people that you share a home with don't have words of affirmation as a love language, most people appreciate it when you say thank you. This would be the first thing I recommend you try. Paying attention throughout the day and giving thanks when someone does their usual home tasks. This is also very powerful for children. Children hear the word no and negative things much more often than they have positive reinforcement. So when they do empty the dishwasher or clean up after themselves, saying thank you and that you appreciate that they've done that in a sincere way can impact whether they'll do that again or not. When my husband and I were going through an especially difficult time, I started a practice recommended by Darren Hardy. What he had done is created a special journal for his wife, where every day he would write something that he was grateful for about her in this journal. A year later, he gave her this journal as a Thanksgiving gift. I started doing the same thing for my husband. Every morning, I would write a note in my phone and write something about my husband that I was grateful for. I created a list because it made me look for something to be grateful for about my partner every day. This works really well because we know we can't change the behavior of others. We can only change the way that we observe their behavior. So by looking for something that you're grateful for about your partner's behavior every day, over time, the way that you look at your partner changes. You can do this same thing with children or parents that you might be sharing a home with, or perhaps even a difficult roommate. You don't ever need to give them this list. This exercise can stay private and just be a reminder to yourself to find something to be grateful for about that person every day. For today, I ask you to do the thing that is easiest for you. If starting a list seems like too much, then don't start that activity right now. Now that you've heard how this works, perhaps this is something you could start maybe as a New Year's resolution and give it to your partner at the following Christmas. I invite you to find a few moments today to say thank you to those in your household when they do those tasks that we all find mundane or take for granted. You never know, you might surprise someone with your outward expression of gratitude. This concludes today's gratitude practice. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you take a moment to implement something you've learned today. I have a favor to ask. Would you mind rating and reviewing this podcast? doesn't matter which podcast app you're using, every rating helps other people to find this podcast and help them make their decision when choosing which podcast to listen to. I appreciate your support, friends, and I'm excited. I appreciate your support, friends, and thanks so much for taking the time to listen and rating the podcast. I'll be back tomorrow with another way to practice gratitude.